I work for the United States Secret Service. I protect the president and the vice president 24/7.
Is it safe to say that you are the first female
on the counter assault team? I am. Obviously, it's a dangerous job. Anything can happen at any time.
Every day you wake up, you're in a situation where you could legitimately die that day.
I'm not seeking life or death every day, but I know what comes with the job. I like helping people or protecting people.
What advice do you have for young women who might be listening to this, inspired by your journey and your path?
If you want to do it, but know your capabilities. Be the best version of yourself. Do your job, and nobody can say anything to you.
Rachel Otto, welcome.
Thank you
to the Whoop podcast.
Oh, so excited.
This has been kind of a long time coming.
Yes.
I've wanted to talk to you in this format for a very long time. I am super self-conscious that I have chosen to wear a sleeveless shirt today because there's just a direct comparison, and I'm like,
there is
I can't
a
help.
Great comparison.
You're just like,
they're going to tell me to cover up after they see you.
So it's so funny because I was like, Rachel, I really want to talk to you on the Whoop podcast. I think our listeners will be absolutely fascinated by your career. And you're like, what are you talking about? Like, I have the most boring job ever.
I just go about my life, and it's hard to think that, I do it for me and my family. So it's hard to think anything like outside of that,
and our country.
I thank you for.
Well, I want people to hear your story because, I think you're in a profession that is typically male dominated. So you've broken lots of barriers in that regard. And I think, just for me selfishly, even, my daughter is looking to kind of go into, I think, a very male dominated world, the military. And I think having role models like yourself is just so vital. So why don't you tell our listeners what you do?
So I work for the United States Secret Service, and I'm on the counter assault team. And basically I protect the president and the vice president and other heads of state 24/7. So I'm always on the move.
Is it safe to say that you are the first female?
It is safe to say that. On the counter assault team, I am. Yeah. Yes.
What does counter assault mean?
We are the emergency action, or like the EA team for the president. So sometimes to kind of dumb it down, I just like to say like the SWAT team for the president. Right. Like we're the tactical element in an emergency exigent circumstances that he needs to move or something like that. We'll get him out.
What are the range of skills that you need to have in order to protect the president?
Anything from physical fitness to mental sharpness, to being able to think quick, to tactics. So it's a huge scope of abilities, really.
And tactical includes
close quarters combat, shooting, being able to provide basic medical assistance, correct, to others or the president or the vice president or other heads of state.
How often do you have to kind of train those various skills? Because, it's kind of like just at a very basic level, like my CPR ran out. I need to get that again. So you must be just literally constantly fine tuning these skills. And how does that training fit into your day?
Because we cover heads of state and protectees 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, there's a certain schedule that we follow. That's 2 weeks of days, 2 weeks of eves, 2 weeks of mids, stuff like that. And then training is kind of throughout that. And, we have certain qualifications during each quarter that we have to complete for firearms, for physical fitness standards. And then we'll always have during some sort of our training, like a medical capabilities, recertification or stuff like that. It's constant, throughout the year, every year.
Okay.
So,
cool. All right. We're going to get into the nitty gritty on exactly what it is that you do from a training perspective and recovery and sleep and the demands of your job. And this is why I was so eager to talk to you. Just blow me away, in terms of the travel,
right,
and the demands on you physically and mentally and emotionally. You're a mom of two, you have 2 young children and you have a husband, and, so you're kind of navigating, I think, what is, again, one of the more demanding jobs on the planet that have really high stakes with all of this. So we're going to dig into how you do that. First, a rapid icebreaker. Are you ready?
Yes.
True or false? You've had to make a life or death decision in under 5 seconds.
True.
Yes or no? You've executed a mission with less than 4 hours of sleep.
Yes, very often.
That's like kind of the default,
Yes.
unfortunately. Yeah. True or false? Tactical success often comes down to staying calm, not just being fast.
Very true.
Yes or no? You can feel your heart rate shift before you even engage.
Yes, true.
Trusting your team matters more than trusting your gear.
Agree with that one. With that said, team is and gear is very important.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Your
Gotta
gear,
trust
you
your
need to have confidence in your
Yes,
gear. Like
absolutely.
That. Yeah. Okay. So you went to the Citadel.
Yes.
What is the Citadel?
The Citadel is a military college in South Carolina. I got a volleyball scholarship, so I played volleyball there for 4 years. I didn't always.
You're the captain.
I was.
You would never say that.
Yes. No, I wouldn't. I started there in 2005, and females had just started going there. I think 1999 was the first female at the Citadel. So our class was only 6 years into having women at the Citadel. Definitely a difficult experience, but I wouldn't take it back for the world. And playing sports definitely helped with that. Obviously, all females on my team. So we were all going through it together. And definitely some great guys and guys that I still talk to at the Citadel. And it's never about being a woman. I kind of forget that some days, I just do my job, and I want to do it just as the men are doing it, because that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. And I want them to trust me. And that was the same thing at the Citadel. It's like, I can do what you're doing, and I can play volleyball and play sports. And it was a great experience, and I don't take it back.
What did you learn about leadership there?
I learned a lot about leadership, specifically on the volleyball team, especially once I was not a freshman anymore. And I moved up and then became a captain on the volleyball team, and all the freshmen were coming in and kind of having that same feeling that I was having. And just that you really have to lead by example. Like, it's kind of like with my kids, like they're going to do what I do. And if I show that I'm nervous or that, I'm scared to go back to the battalion at night because I'm going to get yelled at, then they're going to feel that way. I think lead by example is just the biggest thing that I've learned. And I was young then too. So like leadership meant a lot because I wanted the girls on the team to trust me. And, but being so young, I think that's kind of like in the back of your mind. And like, as you get older, you're like, man, I really should have done things different, But it definitely, those 4 years at the Citadel shaped me for my future, which is kind of how I got here, and just like tough situations.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you had a lot of choices. Presumably, you could have played volleyball, you're a Division I athlete, so you probably had other Division I schools who were recruiting you. And I mean, Citadel at the time, especially, was a really hard choice in the sense that, 6 years they'd only had females at that institution for 6 years. So they don't have a lot of repetitions with women. There was a lot fewer women relative to in terms of ratio, men to women. What made you kind of choose that path? Because that's a hard path.
It is. So my sister went to West Point. She has always been kind of like my role model. I've always wanted to be in law enforcement. And so I didn't at that point want to commit to the military. And the Citadel it's a 4-year military school. But you don't have to go into the military. I visited a few other colleges for volleyball, and the Citadel recruited me, and I went down there into Charleston, South Carolina, which is gorgeous. And I came back one day, and like a week later, I just told my parents, I was like, I want to go to the Citadel. I want to do it. And I'm pretty sure my dad started crying because, in high school, we were so alike and we butted heads, and they were ecstatic. And I really wanted to do something different than every others. And again, that's kind of like where my path turned. And I was like, I don't want to do just what everybody else is doing. I don't want to go party. And there's nothing wrong with people that make that decision, but that wasn't the right decision for me. Yeah. But the Citadel was. Like I said, I enjoyed it for 4 years.
It sounds like it was a place where you could be kind of the truest version of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, which is such an amazing realization at that age.
And it's not for everybody, right? Some people come after their first year and they're like, I don't want to do this.
Wow.
And, you can't fault them. Like,
of course,
you have to make the best decision for yourself. And really, every year is tough there in different ways, but obviously year is the hardest. And back then we had year one. We had to cut our hair. It had, I don't know exactly. I think it had to be like 3 inches on the top and 1 inch on the sides. Like, wow. I looked like a guy, and I didn't know that going in because again, my sister going to West Point, they can have their hair, just has to be in a bun above their collar. And so I show up day one. My sister loves telling the story, but I show up day one and we go into the battalion and we sign in, and then we have to go through all these little things, and we go to the barber, and it is a barber. And I just remember him like brushing my hair back and then like cutting my hair with like skinny little scissors. And I walk around like on the parade deck, and my family was walking by me, and my sister's crying because she's like, I look different. Wow. And I just, it's just a different experience. And now they can wear their hair. It can be as long as you want it, as long as it's in a bun above your collar, like military standards.
Cool.
And it took me 3-4 years to actually grow my hair back out. And so it was like awkward stages. And yeah, I'm just glad that's changed for the better, because that was an awkward stage of hair for me. So,
I mean, it's great that everyone else has to go through it too.
Oh,
you know? So you're not alone.
But that was like one of the like challenges, you know, and it's like, okay, it's just hair. It'll grow back, you know, whereas some people are like, I don't want to do this. I need my hair, you know? Yeah. And for me, it was like, whatever, you know, I'm here for a reason.
What is it like to be in an environment? And this has been literally your entire career. You know, you went from Citadel, and we'll talk about law enforcement. You were boots on the ground. You were a police officer, narcotics, federal agent, now protecting the president. So you've just been in a scenario where there are just very few females. I think it's like one of those things where I think women in these environments, I'm kind of in a similar, exercise physiology is very male dominated, technology is very male dominated. I kind of find myself in very male dominated, environments as well. And I do think there is this kind of need to kind of prove yourself. There is, I think, a pressure and a mindset to that I think can be adaptive and it also can be maladaptive. And it's kind of frustrating that that's the case, but maybe just talk through how you think about that.
I totally agree with you. Like, I feel like you do always have to prove yourself. All 4 years of the Citadel, you stand out just because you're not just like everybody else. If I don't think about it, like as me being a female, it's easier for me to get through. And I've always kind of had that mindset, like just do what they're doing and then they can't really say anything to you. Whatever their standards are, just complete the standards. And then there's nothing they can say to you. There's no leverage there for them because you've done everything they've done. And this is just my experiences. I've never had any like horrible experiences with men in my fields. They've all been very supportive. And maybe that is to the fact that like I just do what they do.
You've met the standard.
I've met the standard.
So it'd be pretty shitty of them if they didn't accept it.
Correct. Right. And at that point, if they say something, it's like, okay, you just don't like me. Yeah. And that's fine. But like I can do the job. And I also kind of know my limits, right? Like I'm not trying to do things that I know I can't do just because I'm a woman. Right. Like, oh, I want to do this because there's no women in here and like, you're going to have to let me do it. I do things that I know that I'm capable of doing and that I want to do and that I'm there for the right reasons.
Are there any other women on the counter assault team?
There are not.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's just you.
Just me.
So you graduate Citadel and you go into law enforcement.
Yes.
So you are a young officer in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes.
What was that like?
Whew. So, first big girl job, like not mooching off my parents and, living on my own and, kind of starting my career path. And again, the Citadel has set me up for leadership, being able to talk to people, being able to, chain of command. There's still people in the workforce that really don't have like a direct chain of command. And so having that at the Citadel was nice. Now, when I, transitioned to, being a police officer and like knowing my chain of command and kind of like that structure, because a lot of people don't get that structure in college. They just go to college.
What does that look like?
It's like if I have an issue, who to go to next instead of, hey, I'm just going to go straight up or like I'm going to start complaining to other officers or like, you know what I mean? Stuff like that.
It's just like an etiquette.
Correct.
That you learn that might not be as obvious in just a random college kind of environment.
Learning how to talk to people, learning how to talk to people that are higher ranking than you or that, deserve that respect or, so that kind of helped me when I became a police officer. And I was there for 7, almost 8 years and I loved it. It definitely, shaped me who I am today. Again, like learning how to talk to people, learning how to deal with the community. And I made a lot of great friends and quick decision making. After, I think, 5-6 years, I went into narcotics and I loved it there. I loved You're a Detective. And after that, I decided to apply to be federal. So,
Wow.
I could have stayed there forever. I definitely enjoyed it a lot. I just knew I wanted more.
Every day you wake up, you're in a situation where like you could legitimately die that day. How does one wrap their mind around that? Or is it something you just don't even think about?
It's just something you don't think about. Like, I wouldn't say an adrenaline junkie. I'm not going to go like cliff diving, like that extreme.
You're not seeking.
I'm not seeking like life or death every day, but I know what comes with the job. And I like that. I like helping people or protecting people, like that's just kind of like how I feel inside. So I don't even really think about it. I just like, this is what I want to do. This is what I like to do. And I just go in every day, knowing that something could happen, obviously.
I always feel like, safety is kind of an illusion. The only thing that makes you safe is competence. Talk a little bit about how you build competency to be able to have the mindset that you have when you're on the street.
I like to say like, it's always about like a 360 view. Like, even when I'm out with my family, just like always being aware of your surroundings. And
that's a good life principle anyway, right?
Yeah. Just like, people are always on their phone
paranoid,
nowadays.
But I know you're so vulnerable.
I know.
So vulnerable.
And it can happen to anybody.
I must get hit by a bike the other day because I was like on my damn phone I was just trying to go through my music, trying to find,
but all it takes is like 1 second,
I was like,
and people talk about the job and like, oh my God, you're like life, death situations. I'm like, you can walk outside and cross the street and get hit by a bus. I mean, like, obviously it's a dangerous job, but everybody needs to be aware of what's happening in the world and just pay attention. And again, just being competent, knowing what you're getting into and like waking up, not being complacent. Anything can happen at any time, and just being aware.
So everything that you've done basically is training you to have a mindset to be able to kind of feel confident that you are going to be able to have the skills to keep yourself safe.
Correct.
I guess that's like in other people. That's like some people would think is kind of a burden, it's a responsibility you shoulder, which is a great one,
Or like, because you always have to, some people always have to think about it. I feel like it just kind of like comes. Right. Like, especially as you have kids or,
just this perspective.
Just a perspective.
Yeah.
Correct.
So when you think about like all of the lifestyle kind of choices that you have to make, right, to kind of show up and be in a situation where you can protect yourself and protect others, what are some things that you prioritize? I mean, how's maybe that evolved, because you were a young officer and kind of detective and then we'll kind of talk about that transition from detective to counter assault, but kind of how did you think about all these lifestyle things that you kind of know really well now? What was your understanding of some of these like recovery and sleep and nutrition and training? Like, what was your understanding of that, like leaving the Citadel?
I wasn't always perfect. And especially in college when you're 22, 23 and you can eat anything you want and sleep on the floor for 3 hours and, feel great and just pop up and be fine. And even at the Citadel, like the beds weren't comfortable. Like we're not getting a lot of sleep. We're traveling for volleyball, like really early practices. And just kind of like as you get older, I mean, just in life, you realize like you can't survive off of 5 hours of sleep and eating pizza and drinking Cokes and, going out and staying up late. I've always worked since I was in law enforcement shift work. So I've never worked at a desk other than when I was a detective, but even then we're just out. I've never worked like a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. It's always been shift work. So prioritizing the sleep when I can get it, or even when I'm on midnights and I'm sleeping during the day, like blackout curtains. And my dad was an athlete. My brother's an athlete. My sister's an athlete. I'm an athlete. My dad has always kind of like harped on, eating healthy, as much as he can get into us when we're young till now, and just like working out and being fit. And, my dad was making me do pull-ups when I was a teenager and he would take us to go swim and he was very involved in that.
That's amazing.
And so we've kind of always had that mindset. And it's nice to have an older brother and older sister that were into sports. And then just now, like even with shift work, and I know we've had this conversation, like 30 extra minutes of sleep, makes a huge difference. And it just makes me feel better. Yeah. And obviously, evolving now to having kids and their sleep schedules. And, my husband's a firefighter and like trying to get on that kind of path. But, as I get older, it's like that stuff is so important. Yeah. And it just makes me feel so much better. And just like workouts have evolved. Like I've always worked out. If I can fit in a 30-minute workout, a 10-minute workout in a hotel, we're traveling.
Yeah.
I just feel so much better. Yeah.
And it's funny. I know a lot of our listeners and even myself, I kind of used to think that if I didn't have time to have a consolidated workout in a gym for an hour, it didn't count, it didn't count.
Right.
But I'm just like, whatever I can get in, whenever I can get it in, I just do it. I just did literally I was at my desk and I have like a kettlebell and, it's 44 pounds or something. So I was just like literally holding on, just basically changing hands, like little, I was
absolutely.
standing stationary in a meeting, but I was just kind of holding on, working on my grip strength. And when you're busy, you just have to figure out, just put it into your day at random intervals. And
there's
little
so
snacks,
many programs
totally.
that, you can
8-minute programs that you can do that.
And you can go onto Instagram and follow anybody and they post,
all sorts
10-minute
of
dumbbell
ideas.
Workout.
Totally.
And you can just go buy one dumbbell, and just do something. And it's been a hard transition into that because of being an athlete and working out 2 or 3 times a day in college, having 2-a-days and then having a strength training and having a strength and conditioning coach.
Right.
That's putting me through stuff.
Right.
And then graduating, and then being like, oh man, I have to do this on my own now.
Right.
But having been set up with that, it's easier, which is kind of how I got into CrossFit. And I know we were going to, we'll touch on that too, and then now kind of evolving into just whatever I can get,
right.
and being okay with that. But then what comes with that is nutrition and sleep, right. Because when you're working out 3 times a day and have a strength and conditioning coach and you're eating whatever at 22 years old,
right.
You'll see results.
You're trying to get in as many calories as you can at
correct.
that point.
And it doesn't matter what you eat. And you're 22.
Yeah.
And, now you just have to be more conscious about it, even if you only get a 30-minute workout in, just to feel better. But
So you go from detective and you apply for the agency.
Yes.
Obviously it's super competitive. They probably saw your application though. I was like, oh my God, this is a dream.
Maybe, I don't know.
What happens once, did you just get a call?
Yeah. So I want to say in 2013, the federal government kind of had a little freeze. And a lot of guys that I worked with were applying and they weren't hearing anything for a year or 2 years. And I was like, well, my best friend was like, just apply and see what happens. And I was like, okay, it'll probably be a year or 2, which is great because I had just recently got into narcotics. And I was like, I love it, but I didn't have any kids at the time. And I was like, well, if we're going to do this, let's do it. I think I was 27, 28. I was like, this is the perfect time to do it. And so I applied and then it only took 11 months.
Wow.
Quick. And I was like, start to finish.
Damn,
and they called me, I was at work. And they called me at 4:50 p.m. and they were like, do you want the job? And they were like, these are your options to move.
5 p.m.
Yes, literally. Oh. And I was like,
sounds about right.
You realize this is my life and my husband's life and he is a firefighter and we can't just leave. And she's like, okay, you have until, I think she went 8 a.m. the next morning. And I was like, okay. Not my husband at the time, my fiance, or maybe even just my boyfriend. But I told him that I was applying and I was like, you can come or you can stay, but
I'm doing this.
We're doing this. And so we called them back and we ended up moving to New York. And we were like, well, if we're going to move to New York, let's do it with no kids. And I want to say I can't remember the date I took the job, but 2 weeks later, him and I got married.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, gosh, let's do this.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you were working out of the New York office? Okay.
I was there for 4 years.
Wow. Yeah. And what was the role? What was the...
Just investigations.
Okay.
Yeah.
How intense was that?
Super busy.
Yeah.
New York is its own.
Yeah. So criminal
beast.
investigations?
Criminal investigations.
Were you focused on narcotics?
No. So the job now is white collar type stuff like credit card fraud, cryptocurrency kind of stuff. And so that part of the investigations, like PI type stuff, like protective intelligence and stuff for the protectees. So all those kind of investigations it is kind of what happens in the field offices.
Okay. So
moved to New York and still worked a lot of protection. That's the interesting thing is kind of it's like a dual mission. So we do protection and investigations. But right now I'm just doing protection because you kind of go through phases. I lived 4 years in Brooklyn and I actually really liked it.
What was different in terms of what it required from you mentally and physically than the previous job?
I did a lot of in-town stuff, so I didn't travel as much then, which was nice. But we still worked a lot. It's weird, just going from a local cop, local law enforcement to federal agent because you feel like you just have more eyes on you. Like, this is what you do now. And people are like, even more people are looking up to you and like think what you do is cool. And like, you always have to imagine that there's a camera or somebody's recording you or going to ask you questions, or it's just
like you
a
just
different
can't
level.
make any mistakes.
Correct. Or at least try not to make any mistakes that people are going to see or hear about.
Obviously, you know, I study sleep and recovery, and, you know, so I'm kind of in these kind of data all the time. And I look specifically at high stakes, high stress environments. And, you know, it is pretty crazy to see how executive function really declines when you're not getting the sleep that you need. You know, this is very clear and it's well studied. Everyone knows. What is your perspective? Because you know, you are a unicorn in a lot of ways, but one of the ways I think that you're unique is that you're so thoughtful about your sleep and circadian rhythms. You're as dialed in as you can be, right? Obviously, you are not going to be able to be optimal all the time, but you are able to, I think, to function at a really high level because in your downtime, you're super strategic. How do you think about the people to your left and right, you know, who might not be as dialed in? You know, I mean, I even think about when I was in college, I was kind of annoyed by my teammates, you know, like would go out and stay, you know, like I was super disciplined and I didn't go out that much, you know, like,
right.
And I think in those environments, you know, maybe it's not as appropriate to be judgmental, but I feel like in your environment, like the standard needs to be really high for folks. How do you think about that as a leader now on the counter assault team? Do you have the ability to convey those kind of standards, downtime standards, so they can show up and protect in the way that they need to?
So not directly, but I will say that there are a good number of guys that do wear a whoop and are very interested in their and dedicated to their sleep and recovery and showing up on their A game. Obviously not everybody. But the good thing about my team is that we are all pretty fit and we all like to work out. A lot of guys have young kids just like we do. So obviously there's that. Now, just a shift in kind of the way that people are thinking now more into recovery and sleep.
Shift.
There is a shift.
I mean, alcohol consumption is down 54%.
I've heard that from, I think I heard it on the news about too, like breweries and wineries and stuff. They're saying like less people just this generation are drinking.
I think we've had some sort of role in that because we've been, you know, like
absolutely.
I mean, we've been like,
people are like, doesn't this whoop drive you crazy? And I'm like, yeah, but in a good way. Yeah. Like, you know, if I have, absolutely, like I'll have a glass of wine, you know, maybe with dinner or like a special occasion. And then I'll wake up and be in the yellow. And I look at my husband, I'm like, we're not doing that again. I don't like yellow. It's held me accountable. I think a lot of the guys on my team are also kind of have that same mindset, you know, and nobody's perfect. And we do travel a lot and we are constantly stressed out and we have team dinners and it's nice to go out and like relax and kind of have that camaraderie and like, you know, and I think we're getting better at just doing that minimally.
Right.
You know,
more strategically.
Yes. And I think the more of us that do it, it kind of like spreads.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's kind of like you're just leading by example.
Correct.
The same,
like back to you know, what, you know, I learned at the Citadel, you know, is like, if I'm using this supplement because it helps me do this, I'm like, hey guys, like try this for your sleep.
Right.
You know, and they're like, okay, I'll try it, you know, and, I think just kind of spreads by, like you said, just leading by example. And again, nobody's perfect and I'm not perfect and we can all have a good time and every once in a while and do that. And I think guys are okay with that, but I think it's definitely trending.
There though, is just you have to be strategic. Like you can't just kind of, it's like that work hard, play hard, like puts actually people in danger.
Right.
It's been interesting for me to like be in these environments over the course of the last 9 years, you know, in military operations and, you know, and kind of see, I think that the locker room culture kind of actually shifts, you know, and that work hard, play hard, you know, the play hard is like, all right, actually maybe not so much.
Right.
And I think that's been cool to see.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, we have a little team on our Whoop, you know, community,
nice,
you know, we get to see and like, I message him when I'm like, oh,
hey,
you only got 3 hours of sleep.
Joe.
I'm like, I beat you today. Like, are you going to work out? Your strain's only 4, you know? So that's been like a fun, you know, awesome little conversation to have. And,
I love to hear that.
Yeah, it is. It's a It's fun.
That's a healthy way to kind of, keep each other accountable and also just to like check up on someone,
Absolutely.
If, like someone's gone 5 days with like a strain of 6, like probably means something's wrong, because like really strong correlation between strain and depression, like when you have really low strain, like chances of you being in a bad spot are probably really high.
You're not moving. You're not moving. Sedentary.
And you're just,
And that's weird to see for one of our guys who are, like I said, our guys are very physically active and fit and
I think some of these type of professions, like I think it self-selects. I mean, you're an individual, of course, who is able to self-regulate. You have just kind of like characteristics that allow you to be really successful in this job, where other folks who are maybe high in certain characteristics or personality traits would not be as suited, right? And that's I think all fair. How do you think about the mental health piece in this environment? You said you're under stress all the time. Like how do you as a group think about it, or do you work with someone just to stay proactive?
Getting hobbies. Kids obviously help with that, just because my son's getting into football and I like to stay busy with that. Having a spouse that you enjoy hanging out with.
Right.
And obviously he's in a high stress work as well and environment. And we do really good like venting to each other and kind of getting that out. But we also do things together outside and just finding things to do. Like we work out together, or I just recently got into like, it's like shooting and working out competitions.
Oh, nice.
And so it kind of...
biathlon kind of,
it's like, it's called the tactical games, and it's like you kind of do moving and shooting or stagnant shooting, and then you lift like sandbags and stuff like that. So like in my lane.
Okay. That's, so you're kind of like training.
Correct.
But also getting a great workout and connecting with others.
Correct. And it's like,
having a community.
It's valuable to my job.
Yeah.
Stuff I like to do. But kind of, it gives me something to do outside of work and family, but not in a negative way, right? Like gives me a little bit of myself.
Yeah.
And so finding something like that, or like doing a high rocks. And a lot of the guys at work are into all those kinds of things, which is kind of nice. And some of them are younger than me, and I try to keep up with them, and it keeps me like going and competition. And I kind of thrive off of stuff like that. Like when I don't feel like I have something to look forward to or to do, I'm like, okay, like I need something, like a goal. And just finding hobbies. And I think that keeps me less stressed. And I kind of pride myself on, I'm very good at like compartmentalizing things. And I don't think in a negative way. I think just in like when I go to work, I try not to take like emotions from home, right, to work, because then I'm not on my A game at work. Or things at work, maybe I go home and vent, but I try not to like affect my kids' days or my husband's days, although he gets the brunt of it because that's my person, but, I think I'm good at kind of like breaking that apart. And so that kind of helps with my stress, or just working out or shopping, or, I just try to stay busy, but not too busy. And some people say that I overcomplicate my schedule, or I just like double book and stuff. But like, I like to do things like, I like to stay busy.
Well, I think that's where you have to be careful of like applying our own biases and our own frameworks for how we think people should be living, what we think should be, contributing to mental health, for example. Like you have created a scenario that works for you. Right. Like you've created the conditions that allow you to be super successful at your job, but also be able to maintain relationships and be the parent that you need to be. So, I mean, that's not easy, but I feel like for me, like as I hear you talk, like what I'm really struck by is you seem very clear on what you care about, your values, and you've kind of set up a life that allows you to live those values,
right.
And in a very authentic way. So it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I think not easy.
Yeah. And I get that like just from like my parents, they were been married for 45 years.
Wow.
They've just always set a great example for me, and just kind of like, I mean, they had 3 kids that played sports and traveling and, and we've always had just a very like, mellow, like nothing too complicated. And so we've kind of grown into that, and just,
it's a beautiful foundation that you get to build on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's it like to protect the president?
Whew, stressful.
It's kind of a big job.
Yeah. Stressful, but awesome. It's a great job. Yeah. I enjoy it. It's different, and like you forget sometimes, I don't forget my job, but you just forget how important it is, because we do it all the time.
How many code names do you have to remember?
There's a list.
There's a list.
Yeah. And you don't use them all the time. So it's I have to go back and check sometimes,
The dog has a code name.
Yeah.
Like the
dogs have code names.
The dogs.
The babies.
The babies.
Yeah.
The whole 9 years.
The whole 9. Everybody gets a name.
Grandma,
grandpa, niece, nephew. Everybody gets a name.
So you've got the president, obviously. That's your primary responsibility. How many other folks do you also have to protect? Or is it literally just that's the only thing you're thinking about?
Well, for my team, that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Just that.
Yeah.
And first lady,
other people
first
get
lady,
assigned.
Yeah. And then there's the family, and then other just protectees. I don't actually know the exact number, but it's a lot.
It's a lot of people to keep track of.
A lot of people to keep track of. And we do heads of state from other countries when they come in, which is what keeps us very busy.
Wow. All right. So you have to coordinate protection for them, or because that basically falls under your team, and you kind of have to figure out how.
Well, not directly my team, but the job in general.
Yeah.
Our job in general, we have to coordinate that protection for every head of state that comes into our country.
How many threats do you think you are able to stop?
A lot.
Because we don't hear anything, like, I mean, it's pretty quiet.
I mean, and it's not just us. There's other agencies that are doing all their work, and it's kind of like different levels of the bubble. Right?
How many viable threats are there over the course of a year?
That's kind of a trick question because we get a lot of, so protective intelligence is for people that make direct threats, and that could be online, that could be verbally, that could be anything. And so we have people that go and investigate that. So it's hard to say whether it's like physically viable, like I'm trying to come get you, or like, hey, I'm just stating this is what I want to do, which could be viable.
How many physical viable are there? Because people probably can't even get close enough, really.
Right. So you're talking about levels of security, like, several levels of security that they would have to
like breach in order to.
Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say anything's like direct, but everything is different. So, and every place and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if there's an actual number.
So you'll have to go to the destination the president is traveling in advance.
Correct.
And kind of clear it. How many times a month are you traveling on average? And maybe just talk about like what that kind of cadence, that operational tempo kind of looks like from, let's say, the president's going to Amsterdam or whatever country. What does that look like?
So for us, my team, last year, for example, now granted it was campaign year, is busy. I traveled 175 days of the year. But that doesn't mean that the days that I wasn't traveling, I wasn't working. It was just those were actual out of district from my home days. And that can vary.
Are out of your own time zone? Roughly.
Probably last year, 85%.
Damn.
Yeah. It's a lot.
There's some serious circadian rhythm disruption.
And that could go from East Coast to West Coast to then like Midwest where it's like 2 hours and then back to an hour to then 3 hours. And then you're talking about Oconus trips and stuff like that.
When we spoke, I don't know, it was like a couple months ago when we kind of had a call about sleep and circadian rhythms, and my mind was just, I was like, this is quite the mental pretzel to try to figure out how to stabilize.
Yes.
Your rhythms.
And that was really what I wanted to ask you was like, how do I make this better as much as I can?
Right.
Like what can I control of this? Because it is hard to, keep your nutrition when you're, sometimes we're traveling and it's like 47 hours where we get before we get places. I don't even know what time zone I'm in. And then just sleep. Like we're sleeping on planes or.
When are your opportunities for sleep?
Right.
How do you.
And like how can I help mitigate the repercussions of not eating a full meal in like 24 hours and then not sleeping for, full 8 hours. Again, like you said, you can figure out a way to do some push-ups and stuff like that, the physical fitness part. But sometimes I don't feel like doing that when I'm traveling because I didn't sleep.
You're so damn tired.
You're so tired.
And you're having to conserve like every last bit of like mental bandwidth to like just operate.
And you're like, okay, so my option is, do I eat a McDonald's cheeseburger because that's what they're handing out? Or do I eat nothing? Like what's the better option? And no sleep. It's like trying to figure out, like, do I just
at that point hold the bun? Maybe, I don't know.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll just eat the meat. Can you make that a double? And I'll eat the meat. Yeah. And so that's the decisions and that I try to make a little bit healthier. You know, that's better than not eating.
I mean, the fact that when we were chatting, I was like blown away. The fact that you have a regular menstrual cycle, like you like your signals are so good given it really, I was like, damn, like this is like such an interesting case study, to kind of see how you're able to navigate it. What are some things that you're doing that do actually kind of mitigate some of these repercussions of being on the road 85% of the year?
So when I'm off or when I'm on like an evening schedule, I try to get in bed at the same time. And again, that's hard with kids, but it's forced me to wind my kids down sooner. Like as much as they don't want to, like, I'm like, I want to get in bed at this time. So I'm going to start your whole process of winding down earlier, which
2
is
hours
fine.
before that moment. So I have plenty of
and
time.
I have 2 boys. So it's like, that process starts like at noon, I'm like, listen, put your PJs on and then we'll just
or I'm going to run you into the ground.
Yes.
So you're starting.
I feel like they have a wind up and they just keep winding up.
I know. It is.
It's out of control. But the things that I can control, just, and just like when we talked, is like getting that 30 minutes extra of sleep.
Has that helped? That just bit of an extension?
Absolutely.
In the morning?
In the morning.
Great.
And taking natural supplements that help me sleep.
Yep.
Just as a cop and at the Citadel, like weird hours or not being able to sleep and just taking like melatonin or ZQuil or NyQuil before ZQuil came out and just feeling like crap when you wake up and just still asleep, So going from that to like, how can I just wind my body down and just naturally
What has been the most
asleep?
effective technique for you?
A supplement that I take that has like magnesium.
Is that magnesium DNA? Or magnesium? Which one did you choose?
It's Third Z. It's like, it has Third Z.
That's
and
right.
game changer.
Yeah.
Like I won't not take it.
Yeah.
But everything in it is good. It has everything that you would take, but in one with collagen. I wake up feeling great. And like finding that after so long has just been a game changer. And my husband takes it. So it's nice. Like every night we do the same thing. And like it's taken him a while to get on board with going to bed like at between 9 and 10 because he works 24 on, 48 off. And so when he gets off at 7 a.m., he's like, I don't want to miss out on hanging out with the kids or like what we want to do, especially if I'm off. And so like he doesn't want to go to sleep until noon. And then if he does, I'm like, hey, take a nap. And he will. And then he wakes up and then he's like, I don't want to go to bed at 9. Like, let's sit down and watch a movie, And so like, but he's finally to the point where he's like, I would rather go to bed at 9 and then have one really good morning where we can sit on the porch and drink coffee. Yeah. Wake up at 7 and feel good for that one whole day rather than like feeling like crap for 2 days, So, which is why a couple of years ago, I bought him a Whoop. I was like, I just kind of want to see what your data is at work. Like, I know you don't get any sleep, but how is this?
We've talked about this. Firefighters are just
out of control. And you can tell when he comes home, like how he reacts to the kids, and I know that's not him. He's like the nicest person in the world, but like you can only take so much when you've had 4 hours of broken sleep, and your adrenaline's like up and down and up and down. So it's been nice to do this together with him, kind of getting on the same page and like winding down at night. It's usually been like my kids like, okay, 8 or 9. And then we're like doom scrolling or, doing something. And then we're trying to go to sleep and we're waking up at like 3 a.m. and I roll over. I'm like, are you up? Cause I'm up, and then just not feeling great. And then again, it's repercussions, like taking it out on my kids and like just not enjoying your day. And so we've grown in that. And like, just as you get older and, postpartum. And I know we talked about that, just like trying to regulate my hormones and like, but you don't know you don't realize how much affects that, like sleep. Oh, gosh. And I know we talked about upping creatine.
Right.
And that has helped.
And how good.
Yes.
Good. So are you at grams?
I'm at 10.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm doing it 10 grams and getting the 30 minutes.
Your husband
extra
too?
sleep.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We do it morning and night.
Love it.
Yep. And just like all those little things like helps clear my face up and your
skin looks so good.
It's so much better. Glowing. So much better. Thank you. Yeah. Just like all the, and I told you I did that like blood test that like I finally, I just, it's just like, just all the things are kind of like falling into place. And it is nice with the Whoop to see that, people are always like, how do you like wear that. Like just go to sleep when you're tired and wake up when you're, and I'm like, no, like I want to see
you can't afford to wing it though.
No, I want to see what's affecting me
Yeah.
and like how that little change can make me feel better
Yeah.
for my job, for my family, for life, for how I feel, for longevity.
I know. A lot of folks say like it takes you further from your body, but technology, but I'll die on this hill.
Yeah. I mean, obviously certain parts of technology do, right?
Of course. Yes.
iPads on my kids.
Right.
Like
totally.
I wish I could just take it and throw it away,
No, when
but
it comes to understanding your body, like
absolutely.
there's so many things in life that are uncertain that we have to guess about. Like your body's actually not one of them. There's obviously lots of unknowns, right? About things that we don't know about the body, right? I don't want to, pretend that we have everything solved by any means. But when you understand your baseline, you can see pretty clearly things that are like helping you and things that are hurting you. I think it's just a source of insight that, if your goal, like you said, to be present for your day and available for your kids and operating your job effectively, to me, it seems it's kind of like a no-brainer, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. And like I said, there's a lot of things on this one that the new one that I've really loved. I will never get rid of it.
Good. For life.
Yeah. For life.
We'll be like in our 80s, like being like, what do your hair look like, Rachel?
Well, I'm waking up at like 6 a.m. now.
Going to bed at 5.
Yeah. I ate dinner at 3.
Yep. That's
You're proud of me. Yeah.
So tell me about your training, CrossFit.
I kind of do a little bit more now of just like functional fitness, functional bodybuilding, kind of like a mixture. It's hard to follow a certain programming with my schedule.
Are you doing any martial arts?
I don't.
Okay.
I have a kind of a bad knee. I got it scoped.
Oh.
And my husband does jujitsu.
Yeah.
And I've always really wanted to do it.
Yeah, you can get injured so
Yeah.
easily. Like
I really want to do it.
I know.
But I'm like, if somebody torques my knee the wrong way and I'm just gonna be like, and then it's going to be no fun. So I'm like, I don't want to be that person.
I've backed off. I guess it's been like a year now where I haven't really done much.
Yeah. And all of our guys do it. Oh yeah.
I was just, like I hurt my elbow and, it's just like stupid random stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know if it's worth.
I know. And a lot of the guys that I work with do it and I really want to do it. And I might do it with them just to do it. Like we have days that we go in training and, one of my best friends is like, hey, we're going to start implementing this at training. Like, let's do it on days that we go. And I'm like, awesome. Like, I want to do that. I want to learn that. But as far as like going to a gym, I think they wouldn't have any fun rolling with me because I'd be like, oh, that hurts my knee. Oh, that hurts my shoulder.
I know. And a lot of times like there just isn't someone who's the equivalent size. Like for me, like I just like, you end up like rolling with like a guy who's like 210 pounds, and like they're afraid to hurt you. And it's just kind of like
it's like a weird dynamic. And you're like, is this
kind of strange.
Is this anything for you? Is this anything? Like, we're not doing anything. You're like, you're afraid to. I would love to, but
I know. It's like such a fun sport.
Yeah, I know. So I still do CrossFit style workouts, but I kind of mix it up. And again, when I'm traveling, it's like 30 minutes in a hotel gym with dumbbells. And the nice thing, one of the things that I like about this Whoop is the plans that you can set up.
Oh, yeah.
So
the
programs.
Yeah.
You can set up like how much zone 1 to zone 3 and doing that, like getting 13,000 steps.
Yep.
And that again keeps me accountable for like hitting my zone 1 through 3 because I hate running. I do it and I've always done it, but it's not like my like euphoric, like, that's not my go-to. Like if I have 30 minutes, I'm not going to run for 30 minutes. I'm going to do like high intensity workout or like interval training.
Which probably is better for you generally like that.
Right.
I always say I have to earn my zone 2 because it's just like, I like love it. Like I could go run for an hour and a half and just be like perfectly happy.
I want to feel that way. I do.
I know. It just, how your body's just the way your body's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever. But I tell myself though, because I know the work in the gym, the strength training and, the functional stuff in the gym and the high intensity, that's way more important.
Absolutely. So but it's helped me like even that out, right? I would go in and be like, okay, well, I've done 4 dumbbell CrossFit style workouts. I'm like, okay, well, I need to go run. I need to get zone 2 and I need to hit 10 minutes of zone 4 to 5, because I'm really trying to work on my VO2 max now because that's important because my age, my Whoop age, and like I read how to better that.
Isn't health span just
awesome? Like my age of pacing is 1.6, which I'm like, and my husband's is like 0.8. And I'm like, your work schedule, like how do you age that slow? And like stuff like that. Like it's like cool little
just strength
goals
training minutes too.
Strength training minutes, everything.
Oh my God, I've only strength trained like 2 hours and 5 minutes this week. Like,
right.
I'm like, what?
You're like, I need to get in the gym. Yeah, to do it. Yeah, it's kind of helped me like level out my training to cover all the bases.
Same. Yeah. So good.
So that's features. One of the words I was looking for. One of the features of the Whoop that I love is hitting those goals. Like there's guys at work, like I said, that were like, hey, let's do this high rocks. And I'm like, absolutely. Like it'll help me run more.
Yeah.
And so then I'm training for high rocks and I'm doing stuff like that. And then
are you going to do an event?
So I did the DC one with a partner and it was fun. Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, it's the things that I just have to travel a lot for since I already travel a lot. Like I don't have that opportunity to just like take a weekend and go to Dallas. Yeah.
So for high rocks, how did you get all the training in for that? Because it seems like you have to do a lot of volume.
You have to do a lot of volume. Yeah. Granted, I wasn't trying to win it.
How do you reconcile? Because you're so competitive.
I'm so competitive.
I'd hurt myself because I'd be a psycho.
Yeah. So one of the things that I love about CrossFit is the skill that goes into CrossFit. Mm-hmm. I like technical. It's very technical. Yeah. And I like doing technical things because not everybody can do them. And that's my personality. You know, I'm like, I'm going to do ring muscle ups still to this day in my garage just to know that I can still do them. Or I'm going to go do a handstand walk just in my mind so I can check my little ego box at like, hey, I can still do this, you know, like not doing it all the time anymore. Yeah. It's hard not to be competitive, right? Like running around for high rocks and I'm like, these people are running past me. Like, no, this is not going to happen. But then you're like, okay, well, Rachel, you didn't 100% train. Like this is not your full-time job.
You've been in 4 countries in the last 6 days.
I just got off midnights and now I'm here, you know, so like it's been easier to kind of come to that realization. Like I want to do things competitively, but I can't put everything into one thing. You know, I have to kind of like spread that out a little bit. And so it's kind of been fun because I like to say when people ask me like kind of what programming, like I want to train kind of like for every day. Like I want to train where I run and do functional fitness where like if somebody's like, hey, do you want to do a high rocks with me? I'm like, absolutely. And then I can do it. I can be able to do it.
Yeah.
But like not be last place, but like I can feel confident in how I finished. Or like, hey, do you want to go to the tactical games in June? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'll go do that. Or like, hey, do you want to go run the Army 10 miler like me and my sister did and like be able to go run that and finish in like, okay, I want to finish an hour and a half. Cool. I finished an hour and a half. And so like, that's kind of at where I'm at in my life is like, training for life, but being able to do everything per se.
I love that.
Right. And it's been hard because I am competitive and I am still competitive, but I have to realize like I can't devote all my time to just one thing, you know.
But I think like having that in your mind as a reason for like, because obviously you know, a high rocks competition or a CrossFit, you know, those are happening like probably only a couple times a year for you,
right?
Just given the demands, but having that in your brain, that's what I'm actually trying to make sure that I can do.
Right.
It's just like such a great frame, a great source of motivation,
absolutely.
I think. And same for me. Like I want to be able to like step on a basketball court and play a full game of basketball,
right?
With 25-year-olds,
right?
That like to me, like I'm like that's what I
and not
do.
Look like I'm not one of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of a lofty goal, but I did beat Shubs.
I saw that
in one-on-one basketball, so.
He's still a little butthurt.
He's bitter, but whatever. But
it's fine,
you know.
Yeah.
And pickleball and tennis, you know, whatever.
Yeah, like and everything. You beat him in everything. Yeah,
I did actually beat him in everything. He did beat me in cornhole, so I will give him that.
Oh well, is that really a sport? I don't know. So, not really an athlete. Good. Well, technically, it's a sport, maybe by word, but you're not an athlete. So you beat him in athletic.
Exactly. Yes.
Sports.
Right. That's really just a beer game. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he won.
Yeah, that's exactly. Hopefully that makes it in the podcast.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good.
Shout out to Shubs.
Shubs. I do have to give him credit because he introduced us.
He did. Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah. Thank you.
And we're going to be BFF.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah.
Cut him out of there.
What advice do you have for young women who might be listening to this and are inspired by your journey and your path?
If you want to do it, do it. You know, like I hate the term like you can do anything because there are some things I can't do. Mm-hmm. You know, like I'm not going to go be a Navy SEAL because I don't like swimming. You know, and I have a fear of water. So like, that's not something that I'm just going to go again. Like
I like to say I have a healthy respect,
correct.
But yeah, I know.
But,
same.
You know, like my biggest fear is like dying in the water. And so I'll never be able to get that out of my mind.
Right.
So like, I know I'm not going to just go try to do that to be the first woman. Right. Again, it has nothing to do with male and female and being a first. And I'm where I'm at because I wanted to be here, but I know my capabilities and I know that it was something that I could do. And so just like, if you want to do it, but like know your capabilities and be the best version of yourself and just know like you are going to maybe have to try a little bit harder, but it's worth it. Try to stand out. Don't try to be different. Just like do your job and like nobody can say anything to you because you're doing your job.
Well, thank you for this conversation.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
You have a really hard job. I love that you love it. And that comes through loud and clear.
Oh,
so
you.
yeah.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.